Welcome back to Market Call Recap on the Early Buffett YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining me. If it's your first time here, I do a daily chart reading of BNN Bloomberg's top picks every single weekday. So be sure to tune in, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And so we had Brian Madden on today, who's one of my favorites. He's like an encyclopedia, that guy. It's quite wild. I often wonder if he's reading off a teleprompter, which I don't think he is, but how a human manages to, retain that much data is quite impressive. So always good to have him on the show. He had a few interesting picks, and one that we spoke about just recently. We had Bombardier, or Bombardier, as we say in my neck of the woods, AVGO, Broadcom, and Lennox. So start off, we had the S&P 500 down 0.25% at 54.59, which is starting to retrace a bit. I mean, it's not a retracement, but it's tagged that 5,500 though, and now it's going back down. So I think it's probably due for a breather, come down to that 50-day or 20-day. Who's to know, right? But, S&P looking strong, NASDAQ looking strong too, but showing a little bit of weakness here after the selling pressure yesterday, obviously caused by our friend Nvidia, which we could always take a look at, just since it's so topical. Always fun to take a look at Nvidia. Pardon me. Wow. Yeah, that's a nice gap here. See that gap? It's filled that gap right here. Even if the gaps are small, they still do get filled. So quite interesting. I mean, I don't even know what to do with this. I hold a bit of AMD. I don't hold any Nvidia. I would love to make start a position because I am bullish on the long term. But honestly, I think I'd probably wait until we come back around the 95 mark. And that's not me being bearish on the company in any way. I think it's a fantastic company, but the technicals are kind of screaming here, right? But again, It could stay irrational longer than we can stay solvent, as they say. So who knows where this is going to go? But you have two nice gaps here, which are probably just dying to get filled, right? So we'll see. It's probably a really good buy at 95. Just coming under that 50-day moving average. So we'll see what happens with Nvidia. But Brian likes it too. They've held it for years. So imagine they've probably been hanging on for hanging on to some really nice gains right now. But pardon me, the market will revert, right? Reversion to the mean is a real thing. So I don't doubt that this name is going to get brought down to a more reasonable level. I mean, its PE is reasonable, but its price to sales is quite astronomical. I don't know the figure off the top of my head, but the technicals do look overheated, and we have this big ugly candle here, which is probably going to be the start of a little bit of a pullback here, but probably buyable, which Brian, admits to it being quite, all these dips being quite buyable here. So yeah, so always fun to see. And the Dow is kind of flat on the day, which, the Dow does what the Dow does, right? But still uptrending though. So back to Brian's top picks. So we started off with Bombardier, which I'm surprised, but I'm hearing more and more positive sentiment towards this name. And, they've just been in the doghouse for, they were 20 years, I think, going back to, my chart's going to go all bananas with all Interactive Brokers charts don't exactly account for stock splits. And I believe Bombardier had a reverse split a while ago. So the chart gets all wacky when you go too far out. But I mean, it was down for a long time. 2000, I think Brian mentioned from 2000 to 2020, there's about a 99% drawdown. So a lot of investors got burned. So a lot of, people probably find this to be completely uninvestable, but he doesn't think it's your grandfather's aviation company anymore. He's super bullish on it. And they have a $15 billion backlog, which is interesting. But I did mention this chart, I think last week around, and I drew this line. I'll leave it here. We'll see where it goes. I still think it's going to probably come back down to the 72, or it's going to continue sideways for a while until it catches up, until the 50-day catches up, and then, then we'll see what happens. Is it going to get knocked down again? Again, it's a tricky company. I don't really have much to say about it. This could be seen as maybe a bullish flag of sorts, could very well be. This is not really more art than science here, but you see, you could draw these things. Could be a bullish flag forming here. Maybe we'll blast back off, but staying under its 20-day here. So we'll see where it goes from here, but looking bullish, looking good. But I still have no comment on the stock. I don't think I would particularly touch it. I'm not a fan of airlines, aircraft, with everything going on. So it's going to be a no from me. AVGO, aka Broadcom. Nice looking chart. Let's see what we're doing here. He likes it for obviously this AI theme, which just keeps coming up, and it makes you wonder, like when that many people are talking about something, it's just, it's very, very much feeling like a bubble. But they're in a good space. All their products are needed for this new AI revolution. So he sees tremendous growth. And one of the few tech companies that is actually a solid dividend grower. I think he mentioned something like 25% since 2016. They've been growing their dividend at a 25% clip, which is really, really impressive. All I see here is this gap that is probably going to be filled. We'll probably come back to that 20-day or the 50-day. But it was quite comfortable here. Quite comfortable at that 1400 level. And it blasted through 1500 decisively, and now it's it's cooling off a bit. So are we gonna settle down a bit? Are we gonna come back down to that 1500 level, and then continue on maybe? And this hinges on Nvidia too. If Nvidia has a big drop, a lot of these AI names I'm sure are gonna get hit as well. But we'll see how it goes. But all these stocks are just steady as they go, right? Just steady as they go, and then we have this gigantic, parabolic move if you look out long enough. So I'd be careful with this one as well right now. I don't think I would particularly touch it until it comes back down to this area here, call it 1450. That's what I'd be seeing. Last but not least, Lennox, who does a ton of advertising on one of the local radio stations in my neck of the woods. I haven't really looked at this name, so interesting, air conditioner. They're number 3 and 4 in residential. They've been around for a while, like 1800s apparently. So, and they're probably going to be a beneficiary of the green transition because they have a lot of green products. They're in, heat pumps and things like that. So probably a good space to be in right now. And nice chart, really nice chart. And you can look this power move. Well, not exactly a power move, but a slow and steady as she goes move, right? Continue on. If you want to do a kind of a trend and follow the trend, you can do that as well. I'd probably place it around there, connect the tops. It's a solid trend. It's looking strong for Lennox. So that's what I'm seeing on here in terms of support and resistance. We could take another closer look. Let's just get back to a 500. We like round numbers, so 500 seemed to have been the number that it tried to break out of. It was kind of consolidating here, and then it made a decisive move upwards. I'm guessing that's on earnings, but we have quite a bit of buying volume right there, and we have a nice bottom wick candle here. So not sure where this is going to go, but it definitely blasted through that 500. So that is probably going to act as support in the case of a pullback. So I would probably expect a bit of a pullback now. Had a lot of buying coming in, so we'll see where that takes us. But nice looking chart, definitely a nice looking chart there. So last but not least, I wanted to just, one that I've had on my radar for quite a long time, because I've been a long time holder of this, and it was one of his past picks, so I wanted to give it a notable mention. But Alimentation Couche-Tard is a convenience store operator, and I've held them since, around down down here, I believe, or down here. I think I bought some more. I bought a lot of these dips here. I bought this most recent dip. I mean, I just love this company. They're just such a great consolidator of convenience stores, and they execute really well. And I love the company. So kind of a shout out to them. And you could see it, but the chart, these moving averages definitely act like magnets in situations like this. And you could see, it's been just hugging those moving averages, right? It got really knocked down. I mean, that was a pretty nasty move here. 14% for this type of, low volatility equity, down 14%, across less than a month. So, but getting buying up, a lot of buying coming in as well, you could see. So RSI is kind of 50-50 right now. So we'll see where it goes, but strong name. But you could see it's probably going to try, it's struggling to get beyond that 70, I call it 80, right? It's rejected that 80 quite a bit. So I would see 80 being kind of a key level here. If it gets above 80, you could expect it to go back to those all-time highs there, which were close to $88. So strong name. I've always loved this name, and all these dips, in my opinion, are buyable. But again, that is just my opinion, and always do your own due diligence. This is not advice. This is just some educational content for YouTube. And as always, I appreciate you. Please be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and have a great weekend, everyone.